maker. I've been a late night player. I've been broke as a joke. I've been a money maker. I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make it shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school. We think we're so cool. We take it back to the past. We gonna act a fool. Enough jumps, the middle finger make my Jaeger.
Hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a fanatical view. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Denver, Connecticut, on this late May 28th. Thunder, boomers, lightning, finally got some rain in this dry New England area that we've been living in. We are here live back. We were off for most of this month. Actually, I believe the last time we were here, I was celebrating my birthday. Anybody want to ask me how it was? Anybody? Anyone?
How was it, Scott?
It was great. I had a good time. Thanks a lot. All right, so we are here, as I mentioned, live, so that means the phone lines are open, 203-792-4101. Usually at this time we hear my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rod Jr., interrupting me as I do my open. But he is not here because of those lightning and thunderstorms, called into duty. Or maybe he's just continuing to celebrate his big wedding day. You know, maybe that was a fake call he gave us. Who knows? But there's some photos from the big day a couple weeks ago. We all got down there and checked that out. And his fill-in for the day, Mr. Mike McFadden, is here. So let's say hello to Mr. Mike McFadden.
Guys, how are you doing?
We're doing good. Bob's show, of course, is still on the air. Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9 and Wednesdays at noon. And, of course, Mr. Mike Toohey is in there flying solo in the control room. Doesn't even have his production assistant, Connor Faco, to help him. But his show, Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9 and Wednesdays at 1. All right, we're here and we're live, 203-792-4101. Plenty of things for us to catch up on in the sports world. So if you want to call in, give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking about different things happening. We will start with the NHL and Bob's Rangers. McFadden, you
Yes.
a big hockey guy? I know you're a big baseball guy.
Absolutely.
Are you into you a Rangers fan? Or
Definitely.
All right, so you're got to be, like all the other Rangers fans, kind of sweating but loving what's been going on with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Second year in a row, they're on the verge of going back-to-back to the finals. One more Game 7 needs to be overcome, however, and they got to do it against this very good Tampa Bay Lightning team. And, you know, Tampa does have a history of winning. Let's not forget they did win the Stanley Cup more recently than the Rangers, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 2004. Rangers, we know, back in 94, last time they won it. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. They did come up with a great effort in that Game 6. Really came up with the goods. They had the hat trick from Brassard, 7-3 final. Been a pretty high scoring, actually, playoff series, which is surprising considering that, you know, King Lundqvist in there for net for the Rangers is a great goalie. He's given up, 2 games where he gave up 6 goals back-to-back? And Ben Bishop for the Lightning is also a great goalie as well. He stands on his head at times, but these teams have found ways to score. Much more open flow to these games than there was against the Capitals in the series before, and that one also went 7. So it's going to be interesting to see how Game 7 goes down. Last time Tampa came to New York, Game 5, with the Rangers looking to take control, they did not do that. Shut out 2-0. So and also if you think back to the Lightning's first series against Detroit, they won a lot of those games in that series on the road. It wasn't until Game 7 that they won the final game at home.
That's right.
It was a road winning type of series for both of those teams in that series, and they finally got the home win at the end to advance, and then they ultimately knocked off Les Habitants Canadiens to get to this Rangers series. So things are pretty intense. You know, a lot of one-goal games. The Rangers streak finally ended. I mean, that was pretty intense, Mike. Would they go 15 games in a row or something like that,
Yep,
where they
15 games,
played 15 playoff games in a row that were decided by one goal.
Yep.
As a Ranger fan, I mean, what are you thinking when all these tight games?
Well, you know what it is that, you kind of get used to it. Even under the previous coach, John Tortorella, he kind of taught them to play those tight games.
Right.
And it's kind of carried over. So the one thing that's good about it is they're comfortable in those type of games. So
very
that's
comfortable in those type games, very comfortable in Game 7. Lundqvist does have overall slightly below 500 record in the postseason, but he is what now, 10-0 in Game 7s?
In Game 7s, yep.
So unbelievable he is in Game 7s. He's perfectly comfortable there. Rangers do not lose at home in Game 7s as well either during this whole Lundqvist era. So you got to feel comfortable about that. Against the Capitals, it went overtime. They got the winner after the Capitals really dominated the first 10 minutes of that overtime session. And then, as it happens often in hockey, if you don't score during that dominating stretch, especially in OT, all of a sudden you get it going the other way on a counter. Bing, bang, boom, a little puck bounce this way, bounce that way, rebound, game over, you win. And that's what happened in that. And the Garden went nuts. One of the louder crowds. I mean, the Garden is always rocking, and they are definitely been rocking the last couple of years in the playoffs. And they were, full throttle for that game. I expect they'll be full throttle tomorrow night. The NHL does them a little favor, finally giving them 2 days off between games. It's been every other day throughout the playoffs, pretty much almost consistently, even between series, because they go 7 games, so they don't have the time off between that either. So there's been very few days off. There was actually talk when Lundqvist gave up those back-to-back 6-goal games that maybe he should get benched for a game. They did real well with him out earlier in the year when he was injured, but I thought that was a wise decision not to bench the King there. Not something you want to do. They could have possibly benched him or pulled him in the third period of a couple of those games.
Right.
Well, the second one was an OT game as well, where they had scored 5 goals themselves, so you couldn't pull him in that game. But the one before that, when they were getting killed, why they left him in when he could have used a little break, it was a blowout. They were getting crushed. They could have sat him down there, I thought. But in the end, it's going to work out fine because they get 2 days off now. They get to play tomorrow night, and they will decide it then. Winner will face the winner of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, Chicago Never Say Die Blackhawks series out west. Another thrilling series out there. The Blackhawks, you just got to give this team credit year after year. Basically, they've won 2 cups already. They were almost back in the cup last year, made it to a Game 7 against the Kings before coming up short in the Western Conference Finals. Here they are back against another California team. What's going on in California? I mean, the Kings dominating. Here come the Ducks again. They've won cups before. I mean, you wouldn't think that, when they expanded out west to California, a lot of people were saying, what are they thinking? Much like expanding down south to Florida. But Tampa Bay has won a cup. The Kings have won 2. Anaheim has some cups. And here they are on the verge of getting back. They get the home game, Game 7 against Chicago. After Chicago forced this Game 7 with a win back at home in Game 6. They had an overtime game in Game 5. Great comeback. They were down 3-0 in that third period and down by 2 goals with just under 2 minutes left. And they came back and forced overtime before ultimately losing that game. So it's going to be wild to see what happens coming down the stretch here in these 2, what will probably be intense Game 7s. I think low scoring. Some of the high scoring games we've seen early in both series really, I think might come back down to the 2-1, 3-2 type of game. I don't know. What do you think, Mike? You think it'll probably be low scoring? You think some of these games will go high scoring again?
The Rangers game is going to be interesting, Scott, because if you look at what the Lightning did in Game 5, they blocked a lot of shots, but the one thing they did in doing that, it slowed down their offense. So even though they won the game, which was 2-0, they really concentrate on blocking shots. So you wonder, is that the team that's going to show up for Game 7?
Yeah, and you mentioned the former coach Tortorella. He taught the Rangers how to play close games. He also taught them how to block pucks.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the guys on the Ning are down there in that trade for St. Louis. Callahan, the former captain, Brian Boyle. I think they got somebody else down there.
Anton Strawman.
Yeah, so they got some guys down there that play that style, and they have been getting in front of pucks, keeping them from getting to the net. So they're giving the Rangers a taste of their own medicine with some of that stuff, and they got so much speed.
Yes.
I mean, when they get it into the open ice situation, I mean, it's crazy. And the interesting thing, and this is the one thing I've been disappointed about the entire playoffs, so many power plays. I mean, what happened to the days when the refs never blew the whistle in the postseason? I think the Rangers have got the benefit of the majority of the calls, but it is spread out. I mean, you know, they're getting called for penalties as well. But overall, I'm just wondering why. Why are there so many power play situations? But the mighty Ning, Mike, I mean, come on. They've had shorthanded goal situations where they've scored and also put heavy pressure. So they are a counterattack team. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's going to be tough. Much more exciting than what's been going on over in the association. That would be the NBA, or maybe we should just call it the snooze fest. Unbelievable. You got 1 versus 2 in both the East and Western Conference Finals, and they're both done in 4 and 5 games apiece. I mean, how pathetic is that? And can we just get right to it? What is with the weak Western Conference? Everybody says the West is awesome, the West is outstanding. First round, Pelicans, Blazers, Mavs all get bounced in, you know, rout fashion. Second round, Grizzlies get bounced in rout fashion, and the Clippers pulled a choke job of all choke jobs. And now this round, the Rockets, the number 2 seed, they don't even put up a fight. Golden State destroyed them in 5. They picked up 1 game. Big deal. It was a rout. So what's with the weak West? Usually around this time I start breaking out my trivia. I think I'll hold off because this series and this NBA Finals is on a 8-day break. They won't start until next Thursday when we're back. So I'll unveil my yearly trivia about the weak West next week. You can wait for that. Some of you who followed the show for years might already know what I'm getting at. It has something to do with the fact that Golden State is looking to win for the first time since '75. A team, you know, from the West that's not the Lakers winning a title since that long ago. But in the East, I mean, we know that the East is down, and we know that it was pretty pathetic what took place there. And this is the thing I want to talk about with the East. The Cavs obviously back in the finals. Bron comes home. He brings them back. He is in his 5th straight NBA Finals. That's a snooze fest for a lot of us as well, who don't care for Bron having to watch him again.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he's come up lame more times than he's actually come up winning when he goes to the finals. Let's point that out, losing 3 times. Winning twice, and really one of those should have been a loss, as we saw the Spurs, you know, reclaim what they should have claimed 2 years ago when they blew them out last year. They didn't get that because the traitor Allen desperation shot at the end and the coaching blunder by the great Popovich. But anyways, what's with the hypocrisy out there in Cleveland, Mike? Round 1, Boston Celtics, Kelly Olynyk fighting for a loose ball with Kevin Love.
Right.
Kevin Love, the injury-plagued, oft-injured one, who was putting the armbar on Olynyk as they were fighting for a loose ball, gets injured, out for the rest of the playoffs. The Cavs go crazy, call dirty play. They scream and yell. They want suspensions for Olynyk. The league caves cowardly to LeBron and does give Olynyk a 1-game suspension for fighting for a loose ball. Unbelievable. And worse than that, the Cavs then retaliate themselves, throwing cheap shot punches to the Celtic players in that game. Kendrick Perkins didn't even get ejected for his cheap shot. J.R. Smith gets suspended 2 games. Kelly Olynyk 1 for a basketball play. J.R. Smith, a repeated dirty player, throwing a cheap shot, knocking a player out. 2-game suspension, completely weak. So now you got Deladova, the Australian role player they got, who gets tangled up with Taj Gibson, puts him in a scissor lock in the Chicago series, and we'll get to the Bulls in a second. Puts him in a scissor lock, and Taj Gibson is the one who gets ejected from that game, which went overtime and could have maybe decided that series because the Cavs won that game in OT. He does that play. Then we get to this Atlanta series, and he rolls up cheaply on Kyle Korver, breaks his ankle. He's out for the rest of the playoffs. Game 3, he rolls up on Al Horford, which leads to Horford retaliating and Horford getting ejected. Dellavedova, nothing. He gets nothing again. A second time. 3 dirty plays in 5 games time. Got 2 players ejected wrongly and injured 1 player for the rest of the playoffs. And the Cavs scream and yell because some players are now saying, what's with Dellavedova being dirty, rolling up on guys' knees left and right. And the Cavs scream bloody murder, saying he's not dirty. He's playing hard. Braun comes out and say it was a textbook box out against Al Horford. Are you kidding me? The hypocrisy makes me literally want to just vomit right here on the set, Mike.
I see Dellavedova has been looking at the old Dennis Rodman tapes.
Unbelievable. I mean, please. And the league caving to the Cavs with the suspension of Kelly Olynyk, and then protecting the Cavs in these ejection situations, throwing players out when he rolled up on them and instigated everything. And then he injures Korver.
Well, Scott,
unbelievable.
Scott, it's going to be interesting to see how the calls are made in the finals, because you have Stephon Curry and you have Klay Thompson.
Right.
And most likely those guys are going to be guarded by J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert.
Right.
So will they be able to be as physical as they want to play, or will the league, or look to kind of protect, Stephon Curry and Klay Thompson?
Well, we know for sure the Eastern Conference plays the more physical style. We've seen it time and time again. Out west, it's layup drills, a lot of free-flowing activity. But the Cavs play a pretty open floor game, but they also play physical, so they're not going to let you get too much easy stuff. And J.R. Smith and Shumpert, you mentioned, I mean, this must be tough for Knicks fans to watch. These guys are producing, playing big-time minutes, huge contributions. And, so that's got to be tough for Knicks fans to watch. These guys were nothing for the Knicks. J.R. Smith was out at the club every night. Now he's living in Cleveland with nothing to do, concentrating solely on basketball. But it's going to be interesting because obviously, they went through the Celtics, who were an up-and-coming team. They played them tough. The Bulls, who from now on will never, ever be mentioned on this team as legitimate, or on this TV show.
We have Bob online.
Who won the under-over? We have a phone call, and it's Mr. Bob Broad Jr., the married man.
Hey, Scott, can you hear me?
I can hear you there, Bob. How's it going?
We're up on Great Plains. We got a tree down across the line, so...
The lightning coming through.
Lightning was dancing all over the place up here.
Kind of like the lightning in this playoff series against your Rangers. We got a Game 7 to talk about here, Bob.
I know. I'm going to, and then in a few minutes I'm going to another call, so I'll be, I'm going to be working all night.
Well, we were taking bets down here to see how long it would take for you to call into the show once you realized.
I had to get the, just the right,
right timing. Well, we figured, once you figured that Mike McFadden was stealing your spot, you would call in and take up his time on the air.
I got to get Mike once in a while. He's got to take over for me,
Every now and then. Well, we know you're a married man now, so we were wondering if you'd even show up at all. We thought maybe you're still on vacation.
Yeah, I know.
Either that or you got too many chores at home to take care of.
That's too.
Well, all right. Well, we're happy you called in. We all had a great time at the wedding. We showed a couple pictures down here. We'll talk to you more about the wedding next week.
Next week we'll have to talk more about it. Unfortunately, right now I'm on the job, so.
I hear you. Well, give us just a quick mention. What do you think about your Rangers Game 7?
I loved it.
You like? You like your chances? Do you like?
It was a good game, so we'll see how it goes for the rest of it.
So you like your chances for the Game 7 coming up tomorrow night?
Yeah.
All right. They've done well in these Game 7 situations before. They're looking to do it one more time, get back to the finals.
I hope so. It's been that way. We haven't done it since '94, so.
All right. Well,
my Mets are doing well still. They're still surviving.
All right. Well, we're about to start talking about the Mets with Mike, the Met Maniac here. So let us get back to that. We'll see what happens with that. And good luck keeping everybody safe out there. You and your guys, the firefighters, doing your job and doing it well.
I know.
All right, thanks for calling.
We're always on. We're always on, you know.
I hear you. The show can't stop you. When the call comes in, you got to take off.
Okay. I got to go, so I'll talk to you later.
All right, stay safe, Bob.
Okay.
Bob Broad coming in live. Helped somebody out in between calls, going to another one. Firefighters, unsung heroes of the area and the nation.
Absolutely.
All right, let's turn our page away from the NBA since they're on an 8-day break anyways. What you were thinking, he mentioned your Mets. They swept the Phils, righted their ship. They didn't have a good time in Chicago the other week. A little bit up and down with some of the, especially with the injuries and the hitting, and some of the pitching at times, especially Harvey had a couple outings in dead arm type situation. But where are we at? Second place, 27-21 after the great start. Where are we at with the Met fans? What do you say about this, Mike?
I tell you, they have got to get some more hitting. I mean, if you look at a couple of games, in the last game he pitched, he was leading 3-0, and the Phillies were able to come back and tie the game. They've got to be able to get some more runs because these guys, Harvey, they're pitching really well, but if you can't score runs, is really not serving any purpose as far as these guys getting victories. Yeah,
you got to score runs. Red Sox are finding that all too often right now. But Mets have some other situations. David Wright, spinal stenosis. That doesn't sound too good.
No, it doesn't.
And, he's just been one injury after another, lack of production even when he's been healthy, signed that huge contract, still under contract for a while. I don't like the sounds of him coming back this year really at all with this diagnosis, and maybe his career in jeopardy. What do the Mets fans think about that?
We know, Scott, the one thing about that, they do have some moves they can make that are in-house. They can move Murphy to third base. You leave Flores playing shortstop, and they have a player who actually played pretty well in spring training, Matt Reynolds, who you can bring up as a second baseman. So it would give you a chance to kind of look at him, maybe give him 40 or 50 games where you can kind of gauge where he's at as far as whether he's really ready for the major league. So in terms of that, I think if I'm Alderson, I think I look at that first before I go out and maybe make a move.
Right. How about Bartolo Colon?
Oh.
I mean, the ageless wonder.
And he can hit.
He's amazing. And but they had to be a little concerned when they say possible fatigue, arm situation. Harvey is coming back from the surgery, but overall he's been pretty solid so far and looks pretty good. But there is that little concern after, was that his last start?
Yes.
Where he got hit a little bit?
Yeah, that's why they decided to go with the six-man rotation.
Yeah, now they're moving to the six-man rotation. Not a bad idea, I think. They have a situation where they don't have any days off for the next 20 days or something like that. So they're going to stretch out this rotation a little bit. Red Sox actually have that going on right now. They brought up a guy who they're looking to pitch tonight, Eduardo Rodriguez, I believe, and they don't have any days off in a while. So they're going to do a six-man rotation as well. Yankees are still in first place. They swept KC after losing 10 of 11. Jacoby Ellsbury went down with injury. They're sitting at 25-22. We mentioned the Mets at 27-21. The Red Sox, pathetic, 21-26, swept in Minnesota this week. The hitting is just unbelievably bad. I mean, the start of the year, starting pitching, the first week of the season was good. They got out 6-3, and then they started to get hit around, and they had a couple weeks bad there where the starting pitching wasn't doing anything. But the starting pitching has settled down. They still have some bad spots here and there, but the guys are pitching okay. Some are pitching very well at times, but they're not scoring any runs whatsoever. And Ortiz is now benched. They said today he would be out for a few days probably. They're going to sit him down because he hasn't got a hit in about 2 weeks. And Hanley Ramirez was off to the hot start, but he hurt his shoulder, was out for a little bit. He has come back and not done anything in the month of May. Pablo Sandoval is a little bit up and down. So it's just not happening right now. Napoli got real hot last week, but they come out here on the road and they go quiet again. Now they're in Texas tonight. So really just a horrible situation going on in Boston right now. The fans not happy, getting antsy. We've seen last place finishes 2 out of the last 3 years around that World Series title. But they spent money this year, and I think some of the Red Sox fans thought they should have gone and got an ace. Myself, I wasn't that upset with the way they put together a decent young pitching staff. They got guys who had pitched innings and had resumes as far as being high draft picks and whatnot.
Okay, Mike.
So it's going to be interesting to see. But like you said, if you don't score runs, what does it matter if the pitcher gives up 2 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs? If you're scoring 0 or 1 run, it really doesn't matter. All right, so we got a few other things to mention before we get out of here. We'll get more into this next week. Triple Crown threat. American Pharoah did win the Derby, and he backed it up in the slop at the Preakness. Belmont is up next week, so that should be interesting to see if he can actually end the drought that is the Triple Crown. We'll get the numbers for you next week and go through all that. Another big event that took place this weekend, the return of Juan Carlos Montoya to the Indy circuit, and he won the Indy 500. That was a big deal. He had switched to NASCAR for 7 years and did not have much success. He's back now a couple years in the Indy circuit, and he wins it. A big event coming up. We'll mention French Open's underway. No big, huge surprises. Some on the girls' side. Venus is out. Halep went down. Wozniacki went out as well. A couple big events coming up. The Westerners Celebrity Breakfast is next weekend, I believe. We got a fight night in Danbury at the Danbury Ice Arena. Live weigh-in tomorrow at 5 o'clock, open to the public. Fight night the 30th, Saturday night, down there. It's Champs Boxing. Galante's involved there, putting this big fight on in Danbury. So that should be a good time. I would get down to the Danbury Arena if you want to check out some live boxing. You might see more action than what we all saw in that Pacquiao-Mayweather fight. Got the bill for that one this week. A few weeks later, I forgot that I had a party that night and people over. Oh boy, I got to pay for that. That wasn't good. So, other local, somewhat local, I went and checked out the Cosmos. New York Cosmos played this weekend out in Long Island. That was kind of fun. They won 3-0. If you're into some soccer, you want to go down and check out some soccer, probably an easier ticket to get than some of the MLS games. They're the minor league for the MLS. Good time, good fun, and they break out the great 70s theme song for the Cosmos when they score the goal. Well, that was pretty good. And they got some pretty good looking cheerleaders. We might have to get some cheerleader photos.
Oh, absolutely.
We might have to look into that for next time. All right, we are running out of time. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we've been off for the month, but we are back next week live. We'll see what's going on. We'll see if the Rangers are in the Stanley Cup Finals. We'll see where everybody's at with the baseball. And we'll talk about the Westerners event coming up and Triple Crown action and the NBA Finals. Thanks for helping out, Mike.
No problem, Scott.
And we will be back next week. See you then.